Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, we answer the question, what is financial freedom?
You're overwhelmed, so much to do. It seems like such a mess. If only you had coaches who could bring you big success. Bring you big success. So lean right in, learn how to win. Entrepreneur nurturing. Tips to be your best. With a professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Mary-Lynn, that's a great question. What is financial freedom? I'm sitting here. I don't know if you can hear this or not. I'm sitting here scratching my head. I'm running out of hairs, actually.
Let me knock on that noggin.
Well, we define financial freedom as plenty of money for life.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, doesn't it though?
Yeah.
And today what we're going to talk about is we're going to share actually how to get to the next level of financial freedom. But first we're going to get in a little more depth about this definition itself. I'm George Kruger, a.k.a. the Professor.
Yes, and I'm Mary-Lynn. And last time on the Big Success Show, we announced the release of our Financial Freedom Tool and how it fits our mission of helping good people have more money to do more good. And so today, we're continuing on that conversation by defining financial freedom and sharing 3 ways to reach the next level of financial freedom. So let's dive in. What is financial freedom? Now, you've already said, George, that our definition of financial freedom is plenty of money for life.
That's right.
Which is a really positive phrase. Doesn't that make you feel
Powerful,
good?
I
It just
think.
makes you feel happy. So let's break this down, this definition of financial freedom, part by part. So the word plenty. Why did we choose the word plenty?
Because I like the way it sounds. Plenty.
Yes.
As we really thought about this issue, we said, okay, what is the term for this? And we kind of ended up with 3 things, right? We said enough, more. Those are 2 things we often think about with money, right? Well, we think about lack. We don't want to think about that. We don't want to have that. But then there's, enough. There's more. Some people are always wanting more, right? But then there was plenty. Okay, well, that's better than enough. It's not just enough. It's better than enough. And it's plenty. It's an abundance.
Right. And I think what's neat about plenty, you define what plenty is.
Exactly.
So plenty to you can mean something completely different to me. So your definition of plenty is what comes in here.
And that's why I think financial freedom has become such a buzzword as well, because it also means, kind of your definition of it, which we love because we're all about not being judgmental here. It's what you choose for your life. That's what you should pursue.
Well, and that's an interesting point too, that it's about your life. So it's not just about how much money I have in the bank. It's that my money allows me to travel more or be able to do more volunteer work.
Yep, exactly.
It allows me to be able to have more of an impact in things that I really care about, or to be able to spend more time with my family. So having plenty of money gives you that freedom to be able to do the things that you really want to do.
Exactly.
So plenty of money for life. So we've talked about the plenty, now of money.
Yeah, so money is a weird thing, isn't it? I mean, it's just like when you say money, it sparks emotion just immediately, right? But the thing is, money, it's a valuable commodity.
It doesn't spark emotion for me. It puts a song in my head.
A song in your head.
Oh, yeah, I've got Pink Floyd, money.
There you go.
Yeah.
But see, that's a happy thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, so for some people, it's the opposite. It puts, stress and anxiety. But the thing we have to understand is money is simply a commodity, and it's a commodity that makes exchange easy. Because, back in the day, we could exchange goats. That was money, right? But it was not a very convenient form of exchange. But in our definition, money actually equals wealth. Now, when we say wealth, that conjures up all kinds of things as well. But we're really talking about, because of our definition, we're really talking about true wealth, all phases of wealth, which is partly because of money, but it's not just money the way we think of about it. It's also treasures. The Bible talks about treasures in heaven. That's a form of money too, and you can build that kind of wealth. But what we're really mostly focused on is how do we have plenty of money here on this earth. And the reason that I think this definition is kind of cool is because it calls for thinking about both the present and the future. Think about this, Mary-Lynn. You need money when you need money, right?
Yes, I can't pay my bills without money.
Right. You can't pay money with that great car you have. You can't pay money with, you may just have the best house in the whole world, but you can't pay bills with that.
You can't pay your mortgage with that.
You have to have cash. So, so the point of plenty of money means not only do we need the money, to have wealth, but we also need that wealth to be in a form that is usable at that point in time. So there are times when we have to have cash. But the thing is, cash is an invaluable asset at times, as we're just saying, but it's generally a poor investment in the long term. I mean, when we make, for example, we got cash, we put it in the bank, we earn interest, but a lot of that interest, and in some cases, a lot of that interest goes to inflation and taxes. In many cases, we actually will end up in the hole by having money in the bank because of interest and taxes. So other investments fare much better than that. So the thing is...
So stashing cash isn't the way to go.
Exactly.
Right.
Cash can cost you money in the long run. So what we're talking about here, when we say of money, we're saying money that helps you enjoy life now and later, not just, at some point in time down the road.
So you've got the money that you need now to pay the bills, but then also money that you can invest wisely for later on down the road.
Exactly. I'm so glad you summed it so much better than I could have.
No, just summarizing what the professor just told us. And the final piece to our definition of financial freedom, plenty of money for life, is for life. Yeah, and we just kind of touched on that a little bit, that life is now and later.
Yes. So the thing is, what we're saying here is that you have enough money to live now and not wait for some artificially set retirement date that's dictated by the government or an employer or the norms of society or anything else, right? That you can live the life that you want to live and that you're going to have enough money to take care of your needs for the rest of your life, that you're not going to have to worry about running out of money at some point. I remember back in the previous era of my life, I had one of my businesses was heating and cooling. And I remember we were putting in an air conditioner, let's just say, for an older man. He'd been a customer of ours forever. And we were helping him get some financing. And he said, "George, I just didn't think I'd live this long." And I thought about this. This guy was just such a precious man. And here he is running out of money. He's been responsible his whole life, but he's running out of money. Not having that fear is worth so much money in and of itself. And so figuring out how to live your life in a way so that you never run out of money, that's absolutely spectacular.
All right. Well, now this sounds great. Plenty of money for life. Who doesn't want to have that? But just even with the story about the gentleman, I mean, isn't he what most of us are? Most of us work really hard all our lives and we sock away the best that we can. Mm-hmm. And, we don't throw money away. We try to be very careful, but yet how can there be any guarantee or how can we be sure that we're going to have plenty of money for life? It just sounds great, but is it a pipe dream?
Well, and here's the thing, Mary-Lynn, if you say that it can't happen to you, that you can't have financial freedom, you won't have financial freedom. That's the first thing to understand.
Well, okay. And I get that. Let's talk about the person who's working 2 jobs.
Okay.
Working incredibly hard and, maybe feels a little bit hopeless, but, would love to have financial freedom. I mean, what do you say to that person? You can't just say to that person, well, hope for it more. What do you say?
Here's what to keep in mind. Every single person who has achieved financial freedom on their own, okay? I mean, we're not talking about inheriting money or something like that. We're saying for those who have achieved financial freedom on their own, every single one of them started with what they had, where they were, okay?
Okay.
So here's the thing you have to understand. No matter what you may be experiencing, you have to say, I have the power to do this. I own my life, and I will take ownership of my life. I will claim ownership of my life. And I am going to find a way to move myself to better circumstances if I'm unhappy with the circumstances now. But it begins with an honest assessment of where you are and what you have. Because the thing is, once we identify that, now we can make the most of it. See, if we just sit here and talk about how, oh my gosh, this is so high, I can't work, I'm working 2 jobs now, I'm doing this, I don't have enough money for that, it's spending too much on this. We're not talking about how to make the most of what we have. We're only talking about how we haven't been able to make the most. It's all very backwards thinking, and we want to be forward thinkers. So that's the first thing, and keep this in mind. That's the price that financial freedom demands. There's a price for this. It's that you are willing to say, you know what? I can do this. I will do this. I'm going to make the best of what I have right now. That's where I start.
That was good. But amen.
Well, thank you.
So the next steps then. So, all right, I'm committed to this. I'm ready to go. So step number 1, the professor says, look at your money flows. What does this mean?
Well, so we've got money flowing in and money flowing out. Now, in technical terms, this is called our sources and uses. But all it really means is how much money do you have coming in? That's your income. And where's it coming from? Okay, we want to start looking at that. And then the second thing is how much do you have going out and where's it going? We want to look at both our income and our expenses, where it's coming from and how much it is.
All right. We've got a tool that helps you do just that.
Yes,
We'll
we
tell you
do.
about that. Our financial freedom tool. We'll tell you more about that here in a minute. But let's get through the rest of these steps. So step number 2 to get to the next level of financial freedom, benchmark your finances.
Yeah, so benchmark is a fancy word that simply just means compare yourself. Okay, so compare your finances. Well, who do we compare to? Well, for free, online, you can find out what does an average person spend on all these different things. Okay, You can do that for free. Just simply search for the information about how people spend on average in various categories, and then look at how you stack up, and you can identify areas where you're going to be spending too much. Okay, You can do that.
All right. And so number 3, the third step to getting ahead, getting to the next level, is to develop an action plan.
Okay, so we just said that you've kind of looked at where you're spending compared to the average person, and you've identified areas where you could save money. So now just map out the actions that you're going to take to cut your costs in that category, and then do it.
And then also just jot down how much money you're anticipated to save.
Yes.
On a monthly basis, on an annual basis.
Yep. Let me just make this point, though. The reason we start with spending, okay, the reason for that is because picture you've got a house, and the house it's leaking. The water's leaking, okay? Well, before we turn the water back on, we'd like to get these leaks fixed. And so what we're doing with our spending is we're saying, okay, there's some areas where maybe we're leaking a little bit. We want to take care of their leaks so that now when we start going after more money, we're getting the maximum benefit from it. Okay, that way we can reach financial freedom even faster.
But if I've stopped the leak and I'm starting to build up some money, what should I do with it?
Well, it depends. I mean, I need to ask you do you have an emergency cash fund?
Okay, we'll say no.
Okay, then that's the first place to do it.
Okay.
All right, first of all, we're going to get an emergency cash fund so that if something happens that we're not expecting, it's not going to cause a gusher.
Oh, I like that. I like that. All right. Thank you, Professor. That brings us to today's big takeaway.
Success comes after start and not just in the dictionary.
That's a good one. You got to start. And so let us just refresh your memory about our financial freedom tool. Maybe you're hearing about it for the first time, but it really does not only help with each of the steps that the professor laid out today for, taking steps toward financial freedom, but it goes even beyond that.
Well, and specifically, I think one area we can just point out quickly. We just talked about how you can, for free online, you can get, information about what the average person is spending. But with the Freedom Tool, we actually are curating a database that helps you see what people in your income group, in other words, people kind of like, we'll just call them your neighbors, how they're doing, and how do your finances now stack up to your neighbors. That's the more relevant information to use, so that's better information to use. All you got to do is get the Freedom Tool.
Right. And let me just add that it's super specific. So how much money are other people spending in your income bracket on entertainment costs, on housing, on transportation, on groceries, on eating out? So you really do have a deep dive to benchmark your finances with.
And within each of those areas, it even goes deeper. I mean, it's an amazing tool. We're so excited to be offering it.
And you can learn more about it by going to financialfreedomtool.com.
And we thank you so much for listening today.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Tips to be your best with the Professor and Mary-Lynn for your big success.
Find big success at biggsuccess.com.